All right, we're gonna call this meeting to order at 6:30 PM. We have a roll call and establishment of a quorum, please.
Mike Wagner. Cindy Byteen. Gary Demashki.
Here.
James Cartman.
Here.
Ray Bechtel. Isaiah Crowe.
Here.
All right, I approve the posting.
Yes.
Stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, approval of the agenda.
Good job. Second.
Questions? Hearing none. Mike?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Barb?
Yes.
Gary?
Yep.
And Beth? Isaiah?
Sure.
Oh, yes, as well. Approval of the Board of Education meeting minutes from November 11th, 2019.
So moved.
Second. Go ahead, you got it.
You going Mary Beth?
Yeah,
Yep. Go ahead.
Changes? Comments? Hearing none. Mike?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Barb?
Yes.
Gary?
Yep.
Mary Beth?
Yes.
Isaiah?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. Is there any public input? Okay. All right, then we'll move on to Board President. I have a couple of things. First of all, we would like to welcome Jim Weedy from Performance Services. He was in the area, called, said, I'm gonna stop by. So we appreciate that. I don't know if there was 5 of us at that committee meeting, but we were just gonna say if anybody had any questions for him while he's here, you guys can feel free to ask.
Right now or just later on?
Oh,
I'll be here after, so, or not, whatever's easiest for you.
all right, the other thing is board development. I talked to Barb Ceramic from WASDA. She's the Director of Professional Development and Member Services, and we just kind of talked about some topics that we could do as a board for some board development, just because, you know, we always need to do that. So, we
So
should.
passionate about it, James, yeah.
So, we need to kind of think about dates though, so I don't know what you guys have some thoughts on when you want to do it. I'm thinking sometime in January. What? Come on.
Mary,
We can-
Mary Beth will bring us pie.
We can make it part of a regular board meeting, or we can have a separate event.
I like the separate one, actually, because we don't necessarily feel so rushed. I mean, yeah, I felt like it was nice to do that.
Okay, so we'll have to have a venue, and then dates. You want me to come up with some dates and then suggest them to you, or did you guys,
Yes.
are you wanting January? Does that work for most people?
It's pretty anti-commitment.
Better than some.
Or, then what we'll do is, we will come up with some, and then we'll talk about it. It's probably going to have to be, are we going to have this second board meeting in December? December 16th?
I would, your call, I went back and looked at last year though and just double checked to make sure we didn't have any procedural things that we had to take care of. And we don't, so it's totally up to you guys what your thoughts are on having that second meeting. I can say the 9th is going to be a very busy meeting.
Looks like public relations followed by regular board.
In that regular meeting, Rachel Elliott, Bill Sullivan, Scott Wixer, and then Scott Moore is also going to present on the county report card that night. So the 9th will probably be a robust meeting. Totally your call, but no, we don't have to have it with that, and we don't have to proceed with it, we have to.
I will make an unofficial vote and say no, because I have CISA the next night, and I have the Board of Education, the equity on Wednesday, so. I have a very full week, so I thought this thing.
And you're talking the week of the
16th.
okay.
It was
yeah.
scheduled for the 23rd, then we tentatively moved it to the 16th because the 23rd was too close to Christmas.
Mhm.
And we just kind of put a question mark by it.
Sure.
I mean, I'm around.
Yeah, we can always just
Yep.
call.
I'll
If
I'll be around too.
Yeah.
What about the reason I bring that up is because if we don't, then we will have that meeting in December, that ninth one, and then after that, we'll have to kind of make our decision, because then we're looking at, right in the next one after that will be the middle of January. So we'll have to have our dates down for that meeting on December 9th for our development in January. Okay, so I'll send out a text message or something. All right, do you guys have any questions or anything else? Let's go ahead and some notes here. Okay. And I guess we'll move on to district administrator / admin.
Yep, as I mentioned before, Cheryl unfortunately cannot be here tonight. She was not sick all day, so some children in the last few weeks as well. So is the season, I think, for everyone. Andy or Liz, either one of you want to get us started with the admin report?
Sure. Okay. Let's see, some pretty cool things. We had a few kids qualify for state, 2 in cross country, 1 in swim. So I think maybe the last time we met, they were on their way to state. Christian, of course, won the whole thing for Division III, and Sam took second as a freshman, so really, really neat to see. Had a cool welcoming as they came back here, and then we also honored them at halftime for our first 2 basketball games this year, so pretty neat to see those kids get their recognition. The saga of middle school realignment is ongoing. We thought we had a good plan. Of course, you take it to a group of 24 schools, which is again part of the problem, and then you can't make everyone happy. So the realignment committee met again, and really kind of came back with almost an identical plan. So we're gonna actually put it to a vote when we meet next on January 13th. So
The plan that you made or the plan that currently is in place?
the one thing that everyone can agree on is that we're not going to go with what we currently have.
Well, that's a good starting point.
We are going to shake things up. So we're looking at quads or tries. So we'll either go to 3 or 4 divisions.
Awesome.
So, and we did take a straw vote at our last one, and the quads, which I presented to you last time, seemed to be the favorite. We just wanted to, before we went ahead with it, wanted to just make sure we were exploring all of our options. We seem to have explored them, I would hope, by now, and that's what we'll vote on the 13th. So, I've also been looking at some possibilities for middle school football. Talked to some local organizations around the area, and they've seemed pretty receptive to having us join some of these leagues. So scheduling for that is done in the spring. There's a couple of meetings that they've invited me to kind of hear what that might look like and where we would fit. So, anxiously looking forward to those. Another, I had our 8-man football scheduling last week as well, and one thing that they do is a lot of the 8-man teams will play middle school football right before the varsity game, which I thought was a really cool idea. So, before we commit to anything, I'm just exploring all options, and that to me is, one option that we'll at least talk about and think about. But so nothing decided there either, but there are some options, and it's looking like it would be possible for us to have a team next year and get on a schedule. So put some winter numbers down there for you. Excited to see our high school girls basketball get into the 20s. That's a big thing. All around, there was recently WIA announced that there was, the first decline in high school sports participation in over 30 years. So we've been, they've been doing pretty well, but now we're seeing a little bit of a dip nationally. So, and girls basketball seems to get hit quite a bit in that. So we see just seen a lot of teams drop out of their JV2 programs, and that's a really tough sport to get numbers on. So I was happy to see ours, grew this year. Hopefully, we keep our girls who are in middle school right now, keep them in the program so the program can keep growing. And then I just, at the end there, threw down all of our fall all-conference winners. It's always cool to get these kids recognition, so got a pretty impressive list, I'd say that. So, yeah. That's about all I had.
Any questions for me?
Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, thank you.
So, middle school and high school has been all about learning in November, not only student learning, but adult learning. So we started the month with inducting students into National Honor Society, and you'll see the list of students listed there. Ms. Conwar took over leadership of that organization, and with her officer team, they did an induction ceremony. So the things that qualify students for National Honor Society are leadership, academic achievement, character, and service. So they have to make an application, and those applications are reviewed by a faculty committee, and then they're selected based on those applications. We wrapped up our book study in last week, actually, November 20th. One of the things that Mr. Pickett and I did was we did a taking the temperature quiz to find out where people were both on the book study and on PLC, and we used the results of that quiz to provide some professional learning on a PLC morning, and actually that stretched into 2 mornings to work on just revisiting what the purpose of their collaboration was, and then to do some planning and scheduling out of their future meetings to help people understand kind of the plan of work going forward. And then we had our first quarter optimists. So these 2 students were nominated by faculty and then voted on by faculty. So Cody Amble was our high school optimist, and Brenna Schutz is our middle school optimist for first quarter. And 8th grade students went to Future Quest last week in Madison, all 45 of them. Mr. Pickett was the fearless leader on that. But I think they had a good time, learned a lot. It's a great career exploration event. They learn about all 16 career pathways and are able to talk to employers and educators in those fields so that they get a better sense of what it actually looks like to be employed in a career interest area. And
And it's local businesses too, so it's nice that you can actually make legitimate connections.
Mhm. So it was good, and I think I can universally say that everyone in this 612 building is looking forward to tomorrow being the last day of the week. So, but it's been a good November, and we're already looking December in the face next week, so. That would be what's going on here.
How are your the PLC mornings going?
Good, good. It's nice because it's not outside the contracted time, 7:30, 8:15. And kids have really settled into that routine. So yes, they have. I know. So the kids that are on campus are busy. The students that are on campus got to pick where they hang out for that 45-minute window. And so we have some kids who are doing yoga. We have 2, of course, with highly popular cell phone spots. Shocking, I know. We have a quiet study area, and then we have weightlifting and open gym going on. So if they choose to, they can be at any level of activity, from quite sedentary and perhaps sleeping to running around the gym.
How's it working for the staff? Are you getting done a lot, in 45
I think
minutes?
so. They have said that the struggle is that we end at 8:15, and then they have the first class starts at 8:20, so that 5-minute transition is often rushed. So that's the feedback I've heard with that. But when we checked in with teachers, they felt like they perceived that they're accomplishing things. They're learning a lot more about the process of it. And I think they're making progress. So it's a learning process though. So it takes time. And I think one of the adjustments too of, okay, it's shifting that idea of, I just need to care about my kids in my classroom to I need to care about every child in the whole school, and how can we work together to make that better for them. So that shift takes time. So I'm very pleased because we've only actually been, last year we met every other week on Wednesday. And so this year is really the first full year that they've had guaranteed time every week. So that's a huge shift.
Great questions. Any other questions for Liz? Thank you, Liz. A couple recent happenings I wanted to share out on. Attended a meeting at Madison College. A lot of the county schools were represented at that meeting. They talked about a few crucial areas. Number one was dual credit opportunities for our students, which is one thing that came back, and Liz and I meet every Friday and just kind of talk about a general agenda type thing. And one of the things that we talked about at one of our last meetings was dual credit opportunities that kids have through Madison College. And looking at some of the courses that they list, it would not shock me if for us to get there and to be able to offer those as dual credit would not even really require a ton of curricular change, because especially in like the CTE department, you see things that are happening in like tech ed. I think we could probably, with some minor adjustments, be able to allow our kids to get dual credit. Cool part about dual credit is it's no cost to the kid, it's no cost to the district. So this is like one of the very rare situations that's like win-win-win. And if the kids take the classes and pass them, they can get credits at Madison College, and even in some cases, those will transfer to four-year institutions as like elective credit. So some people may say, well, we really don't need that because these kids are, college bound per se. Well, many of the courses will actually transfer to colleges as well as elective credit. The one challenge that they're running into more is just through their higher ed accreditation board, and people having to have master's degrees within the discipline. So as of 2022, that'll be something that their accreditation board is looking for. So full disclosure, if we end up getting some teachers who are willing to do this, that may be part of the process, is working with those teachers on advanced degrees so they can teach these courses. But having come from a district that had a lot of dual credit opportunities, actually more than we had AP, a lot of our kids took advantage of it, and in some cases had 15, 20 credits that they had taken through dual credit, which for us was great as well. So we talked about that. The other two pieces that were really exciting that came from that Madison College meeting were along the notion of trying to help the teacher pipeline and finding ways that perhaps we could basically start like a grow your own program and try to get students interested in education while they're still students. And then from there, some sort of like partnership program to get them into local universities, whether that's starting at Madison College and then transferring. And then even that discussion went as far as saying like, would we be willing to do like the Dane County Promise, in saying like, you graduate from one of our schools, you go through this program. Like we didn't go as far as saying we promise a job, but like we promise an interview and an opportunity within the Dane County school. So that was really good dialogue. And then the other piece that came with that was the notion of professional learning for support staff. They have a lot of different programs that they could offer, whether it was through actual in-person or like distance learning. So think of it like micro-credentialing or like badging almost, where you can take some training in X number of hours to help in a certain area. And it admittedly so with support staff is where you tend to struggle to find good professional development. And oftentimes, you know, they may be coming to us from a very different private sector job and not have a lot of training. But yet then we have them work with our most difficult children in many cases. So how could we try to provide some credentialing for support staff? So that meeting was well worth the 2 hours at Madison College. I'd never been on their campus before. Quite frankly, I was blown away. I got lost twice. Finally found where I needed to park, and I was very impressed with, and they seem very eager to work with the county schools, so stay tuned on that, but I walked away with a lot of good possibilities. Another meeting of interest, Gary and I, and then Tammy Schaefer, our registrar, met with 2 gals who represented Life Touch Photography. I know we talked about some of the struggles and things that we've gone through, particularly this last year. So I think the Cliff Notes version, and Gary, feel free to interject, but some of the Cliff Notes versions are, unfortunately, I guess depending on how you look at it, we weren't the only clients that they had some struggles with this year. They were bought out by Shutterfly, and part of the growing pains of that corporate merger has been systems and technology that had worked in the past didn't work this year. So part of their issue was just that going through that change. Of course, they're hopeful that in the future, because they're now attached to Shutterfly, they'll be able to do things better, like, you know, turn around digital images to parents within a week of picture day and things like that. I mean, those were the things they were talking about. But obviously, they were very cognizant of the fact that their customer service and what they've produced is not good this year and not up to par. And they accepted responsibility for that. Talked about, we gave suggestions for things that they did have control over. Because to me, that was one piece of it was, you know, there are certain things you maybe couldn't control. Being bought out by Shutterfly, that might be one. But the fact that your photographers weren't ready at 10 o'clock promptly, that you had control over. So next year they could be here at 9 and be ready. And they took that feedback to heart. I thought it was a good meeting. I'm glad we had the meeting. You've probably seen a few pieces of correspondence if you're a parent regarding just them trying to apologize. They said that there was also going to be another apology and then an opportunity for some Christmas cards or things, which I told them if they don't come soon, that's going to be a waste too, because people are already getting Christmas cards.
Butterflies have been emailing nonstop lately.
Yeah.
They offer local phone numbers for their people that work locally for customer service versus the 1-800 numbers. So yeah, I guess, like I said, the bottom line, it was time well spent. They were receptive to our concerns. Tammy was able to express some concerns from like the district organizational standpoint as well, not just the family standpoint. So I thought it was good. I don't know if there was anything else, Gary, that you wanted to specifically touch on.
Other than minor details, I mean, but like you said, I think the impressive thing to me is they came in with their tails tucked under their hind legs. I mean, they knew they really messed up this year. And I think that what we kind of ended up saying is that we expect much different, obviously, next year. You've got another year in your contract, and you've got a year to redeem yourself, or we look elsewhere. So they were very receptive to that.
Yeah, that really was, sorry, Laura.
No, you're fine.
That really was just how it ended, though, was the fact that, you know, what can we do for you? And my pretty simple response was, this needs to be better.
Yeah.
And if it isn't, well, then you understand the position that we're in. So that was how it kind of ended.
Did they ever offer any type of financial incentive
Reparations.
as far as saying next year, you know, people get a percentage off or a discount? Because I mean, I know, you know, PR to an extent, you have to send these letters and that's great, but I mean, for some of us dealing with the troubles, you kind of read that as a necessity rather than, you know, help at this point. So I don't know.
But then if, word gets out, then all of a sudden, hey, everybody's after it. Everybody wants that coupon code. You know?
No, I know, and I think the unfortunate thing is, people have gotten refunds, but that's after numerous calls and hours on the phone and stuff, so it's like, the people that have the time are getting a refund, but then the people that don't have the means to, you know, have the time to, you know, so I didn't know if next year, you know, we're standing behind them saying, give me one more year, then maybe you cut people some slack next year in some sort, you know. some
Certainly
sort of
bring
way.
it up. That didn't come up necessarily in the context of this conversation. That doesn't mean you can't, for sure. I can share that with them as well. That would be added skin to me.
Just throwing it out there, because you know people, I mean, especially this time of year, they just want their pictures, and so by the time you get your 8th Shutterfly Life Touch email saying, rush shipping today, and people still don't have their, I mean, it's like, come on, like, maybe you can help some other way a little bit, but
Yeah,
not
I would
necessarily,
disagree.
yeah.
And then one last discussion I wanted to share is last Friday, Tracy Paul and some of her colleagues had a Thanksgiving feast. And Liz and I and Andy and Matt Green all attended that event. And as the students were addressing us at the beginning of the meeting, they're all standing together in their room, and I almost welled up and said, I got the chills because of the way the kids were talking, the maturity, if you will, and the sincerity in their voices as they talked about what this meant to them, and then like welcomed us there. It was really cool. And then the pride that they took in that event, and just how happy they were that we were there, and met a couple parents that I'd never met before, and gosh, a couple of them were hilarious.
Yeah.
In a good way, like cracking jokes and just having fun, and they see so proud of their kids, and we're very appreciative of what happens in our district. And there was a couple of different comments about being so impressed and so happy with how welcoming their children find the school to be, which I think to me is probably as big of a testament as we could get from anybody, is that those parents unsolicited offered that feedback. Like, oh, it's amazing how welcome the rest of the kids are to my child. So that was really cool. I just want to share that. A little shout out to Tracy and her colleagues and then the students for a job well done. And just, I think, a good reminder for all of us on purpose and what role public education plays that maybe sometimes we lose track of because there's so much other stuff we try to do, but it's like, this is pretty special. So that was cool. Appreciated the invite. So other than that, the social media report was attached on there just for you to reference. Talked a little bit about that in the past, but that's part of the coaching that Bev has received. And if the board approves the personnel adjustments later in the agenda, obviously Bev's name is involved in that. But we've already discussed the fact that given the training she has received, the skill set that she has developed and I think will continue to develop, that would be one duty that will make the 8-foot move in district office and will stay with that position rather than, or will stay with her rather than going with the other position. I think she's up to that challenge and has appreciated that, so. Any questions on anything? Okay, thank you.
All right, so moving on to district business, school safety drill, action to approve school board review of the safety drill.
So,
Second.
Is there any questions for me? All right, hearing none, Mike?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Barb?
Yep.
Gary?
Yep.
Evan?
Yep.
Is
yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Okay, we're on to 6.1, board structure. So, turns out that this has a lot of, I want to say facets to it. The committee as a whole is an option, but by calling it the committee as a whole and agreeing to that, we kind of back ourselves into a certain narrative where if we go by what other school districts are doing, we kind of just discuss the topics and we really don't or can't take any action on them. So we do have some flexibility. We could just not call it a committee as a whole, but just say we're going to have 2 meetings in a month. The first one we will address kind of committees, and the second one will be more for business. But that will also open us up to being able to take action on items if we want to or not. So we just wanted to throw out those different options for you. Both of them are acceptable. So, I mean, my opinion is to stay as flexible as we can. And the input we got was there's actually some school districts that will kind of go back and forth. Like they'll kind of go to this committee idea for a while, and then depending on the board members that come on, they may change it at times. And for certain big projects that come up, like if you have a big building referendum, you can also create a committee just for that and have them acting, and that's all still considered okay. So I think it's good, we have a lot of flexibility with how we want to do it, but kind of up to us as a whole to decide how we want to move forward with it. Just wanted to let you guys know what the different options are, I guess you could say. So, and also part of this is that we reviewed the school board policies, and you would still be okay with that. And the other part of this is that perhaps I have heard some comments about, well, these meetings are gonna get rather long, so we could offset that a little bit by possibly starting our meetings at 6 PM instead of 6:30. So that's just an option to throw out there. Well,
No, make you laugh because, it only makes you laugh because it was like, we can make our meetings less long by starting earlier. That doesn't make your meeting less long, it just makes it start earlier.
That was a Jedi mind trick.
Yeah, right, I'm like, wait a minute. So mental kung fu is not going to.
So I don't know if you guys have any questions or anything, but.
Well, okay, so like, and like I said, I hope everybody understands, I'm not trying to be a curmudgeon on this. Like, change is good, I mean, change is good. I mean, I just wanna make sure it's thoughtful, well thought out, and we're doing it for the right reasons. So the thing is like what I would go back to, and I know some of you, I think you got some counterpoints to what I was talking about. So, because the thing is for me is like, how does that work, and maybe some of you know more, how does that work for like when we're dealing with personnel stuff? So like we're doing the PR stuff, you know, or not PR stuff, but just your personnel, employee relations, thank you, employee relations and stuff like that. As somebody who has a spouse that works in the district, I don't know how much, can I even be a part of that? Sit in a part of that? Is that, I mean, it's not ethical for me to be even remotely involved in it. So that kind of puts me in a spot where if it's embedded within the larger committee or as a whole thing, do I have to get up and leave for part of the meeting? Do I not? I mean, so that's what I worry about, because then if anybody else decides to run in a similar situation as me, then they're stuck with that also. The other thing is like, you know, I like that, I like the idea of doing that committee as a whole thing in certain regards, but what's its purpose? I mean, you say it makes it flow faster, but then basically Jordan says we have a really robust meeting coming up on which date?
December 9th.
So December 9th, so we're gonna, and that's because we don't have a meeting on the 20th, right?
No, it should be already ended, it's busy.
Right, but we're not having a meeting before Christmas, so are we?
Well,
In theory.
in theory, we would not have a meeting on the 16th, but to be honest, even if you guys said you wanted to keep the meeting on the 16th, the 9th is still gonna be what it's gonna be, because we have all these things that we have to have planned. In terms of like Rachel, Bill, and Scott, I gave them that date in like June and said, but I can't believe you're gonna be here on December.
So the thing is, like, we're getting, like, updates and things, I mean, how much time, or, I mean, it is what it is, it's part of the job. I get that, but why? What's the purpose?
Well, I think the purpose, you know, if I talked to a few of you, the purpose, from my point of view, is that, I mean, we're seeing 5, 6 members at committee meetings because of interest. People are interested in what's going on. And I think from our perspective, I know we attended the Sun Prairie breakout last year at the convention, and to me, it just allows all of us to hear the same thing at the same time, the same information, so that we don't have anything lost. And I think that's why some of us are attending some of these meetings, so we do stay abreast firsthand, so we aren't missing anything. To me, the second thing is the flexibility of developing the agendas. I mean, if we've got a full one on the 9th, there's nothing to say we couldn't flip those. I mean, we need to post these things. And so people are going to be aware of, you know, what's on the agenda. I think to keep, for example, the first meeting of the month, priority would be to doing those kind of you can't call them committees anymore, but the curriculum, the facilities, those kinds of things. And so we limit it to one or two of those if we've got some other business we're gonna do in there as well. But I think the whole flexible nature of this, I think, is gonna be important. But again, I think from my perspective, it's just that we're all hearing the same thing at the same time. Like, no one's out
No,
of
that
the
makes sense, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you're saying, oh, go ahead, Cindy.
No, go ahead.
I'm saying, so you're saying like, so in theory, it wouldn't necessarily really change the meeting structure. It changes it, but it just kind of front loads or back loads it for the month. And then if we need to move things around, it makes essentially 2 meetings, 1 big meeting, in a way where you can move back and forth if you need to, depending on time, and you need to vote and things like that. Because you're not just not gonna take action in 1 meeting, and all your action's gonna be taken.
Right, no.
Because that was the impression I got, it's like, this
right.
meeting, we're just listening and doing
Yeah.
stuff, and, taking input. The next meeting was one where we vote, and that's the order of it.
Right.
Like, I miss that flexibility piece.
Yeah, and I guess if you could call it the hybrid model, that's what I think we should look at, instead of pigeonholing us to those.
One of the things that I thought was really interesting is, the way that it was described was, the first meeting of the month would be that informational section, it's those learning opportunities, it's board member education, it's the education of the topic we're gonna be voting on. So the first meeting, you plan it, so in January, the first meeting is gonna be the topic of, I don't know, student development. Then the second meeting, now that we've gotten all that information, now we're gonna come on the next meeting and have all of that information we've received and be able to make an educated vote on that topic. So
That wouldn't have
but that-
necessarily been something we talked in a committee meeting about.
it may not have been, but it could have been in
That's like,
curriculum.
true, but that's,
It could have been in curriculum meeting.
Because because like along with that, like, because look, I like the idea, I actually do like the idea of having that flexibility within that, I like that hybridized model. But the thing is like, we rarely ever hear something and then vote on it the next time around, which doesn't mean it shouldn't change.
Well, and we
And that doesn't mean it
can-
shouldn't change. It might-
Yeah.
There are
No,
things
it
that we
just
do.
gives us the option to vote.
It gives,
Oh,
exactly,
because I'm
and you
looking
could
for-
vote later that night if you wanted, or if it's a big topic, you wait.
Right, and that's the thing, it's like, because I'm wondering how many of those other boards that do this have bundled agendas? Where they just vote blank on the personnel.
Consent
blank on the-
agendas kind of a thing?
Thank you, that's
Yeah,
what I'm looking for,
yeah.
consent agendas.
Yeah.
How many of those boards have consent agendas?
Yeah,
Because that's what I've been looking at, because, and I'm not saying we couldn't do it, but you really kind of sometimes want to go down and make a big deal about something like Dave Hughes tonight leaving, it's a big deal.
Sure.
He's been here for a lot of years, you
Sure.
really want to kind of shout out for him,
Mhm.
things like that. Those are the little subtle nuances I'm somewhat worried about losing, even though I
No.
don't think we will.
No.
I
Right.
think that's one of those things I worry about losing.
Right, right.
So,
I'll say one more thing. So the part that I'm really interested in is, I'll just use Mike, me, and Barb are in a committee meeting. We come back and present it to the rest of the board. None of you guys are here. You say, okay, well, what happened? Oh, well, we had a really great discussion. We talked about X. Well, what about Y and Z? You guys have no knowledge then of what we've just received. And so it's such a big piece that we're missing, and if you come from performance services and you're giving us this big information, it's just such a great way to really involve the entire board versus just 3 members.
right, but I chose to miss that. But I'm saying, that's a choice. I mean, the
But
committees
is
are open
it,
to the people.
you're, being on the school board, we want to learn all of the information, and then, even the committee report, it's not our intent to skip over something that we're not summarizing. It's just because you have to summarize an hour-long meeting in a 2-minute conversation, which is very challenging. Whereas if all of us received that information, we're gonna be able to lead better going forward with all of our decision-making because we'll have that information.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. That makes sense to me.
And I can also tell you from looking at it from a different standpoint, if I'm presenting and I feel my information is very important, whether it's for curriculum or PR or whatever, I prefer to present to the whole board as opposed to just 3 members. And I can tell you from my personal experience that that's how I feel when I'm presenting to the board in Black Earth. So I think it's respectful, I guess you could say, and if they're willing to take their time, I don't want to say we owe that to them, but I do think that we do owe it.
No, that makes sense to me. Like I said, I don't I don't disagree with the premise, I just wasn't for sure on the inflexibility of it. Because whenever originally was presented, it's like, well, this meeting's for this, and this meeting's for this. So like, I mean, and I see the benefit of it, especially as we approach that referendum, like, you know, when we're going, like, looking at all this stuff, we're looking at for the future sort of stuff, you know, and things like that.
Say the word.
I can't say that. But looking into the future though, looking at those kind of things. It's hard to say.
stuttering.
I know, I get it out of my
I thought
mouth.
it was also interesting.
Because I think, but for the building stuff and getting the information, and so it doesn't necessarily have to be in committee, but then again, it's also, what is the difference between us being presented as a whole, or us choosing to go to those meetings?
You can choose to come into any meetings if
I know, I'm just saying, though, it's like, I mean, that's all, because I agree, I understand it, so.
So I will say a political thing, I guess you get elected to be on the board, to be at the meetings, and to be here to learn as much as you can, so that you are being able to represent the vote that you're gonna be presented with. You know, and I'll take the stab in the dark, and I'll be the bad guy, but, you know, for your question about, you know, personnel, you know, I think that is something that, as a person coming on the board, we all have conflicts. And I think that's something that you, as a board member, had to look at coming on and running as a board member. You know, I think, yes, it's challenging, we always discuss personnel, you know, whether it's direct or indirect versus, you know, if it's payroll, if it's, you know, committee meetings or whatever, you know, that we're always talking, that's always a piece of it in our mind. But I, you know, I just think that that's something that every board member should be thinking of when they run, is conflicts of interest. And it's just something we have to address at any point.
That's something I think we
No,
should,
right.
I agree with you, I think that's something we should probably pursue to find out what the answer might be there. I
Well,
mean,
because I can't be in the room when that goes
Correct.
on. Like, and then I can't even be around.
and that might be one of those cases where don't come until 7 o'clock, or, you know. what I
And
mean?
maybe that's the alternative. I'm fine with that.
Sure.
It's one of those things where it's like, those are the kind of thought, like, that's the kind of thoughtfulness I think I needed to kind of be assured of the
You
process.
bet.
Because whenever I was elected on the board, and I know what you're saying, it was like this, where that committee piece was separate. So that was easy for me.
Correct.
So
now, yeah.
right now it changes,
Forward.
so now I have to be very mindful of that portion. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I understand, I see the purpose of it, I don't mind it at all. I mean, I think it's worth giving a try, absolutely. But at the same time, it's like, sometimes those things can become very self-fulfilling prophecies, because like, you know, you say you get elected to be on the board, to talk about these things, I'm reliving Groundhog's Day, and so are you, with all this talk about stuff. So it's like, you've already been through it once, so, you know, and again,
That
the
is part of
committee
being
meetings.
an elected official though as well, is the community is relying on us to grow the school and be there. You know, we don't have people that, you know, pound down our door to come to our meetings, so we
Right.
kind of have to do it.
But I think the other piece on the intention of having it the way it was is for better dialogue and communication post-meeting. Is to say, rather than have it be a 2-minute, oh, we did blah, 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 is really to weed out some of the not necessary jargon, to bring forth to the board the necessary things that maybe will lead to a vote down the road. So I think,
I would go on the opposite side though.
I'm just saying the intent of what
Yeah.
it was.
Sure.
And I understand you saying that, you know, we don't get all the information, but I think that the intent was not all of that is necessary. Sometimes you lose out on necessary things, yes,
And-
but
and
if we
with this
did a
one,
better job.
Sorry.
But I just thought the advantage of having everybody there is, when you're looking at one person's opinion of what was relevant at that meeting versus the group of 7, where we present, the chair does, their opinion of what they felt relevant at that point, where the rest of them are only gonna hear at my chair one is my relevant points. You may think something else is relevant, this way you're all hearing the same thing, and you can make your own opinion on what was relevant to you.
And I like the standpoint from, you can still appoint a committee.
Yeah.
to look at.
Yeah, I agree.
And they just serve, you know, limited function as far as, hey, you want to do that. So like when we talked, like a long time ago, when we started doing, well, not when I started doing anything, but you guys started doing stuff, looking at some of the paintings and things like that, or like some like beautification of the school, so to speak, or like fixing some of those issues, that can be kind of a subcommittee with a specific purpose, rather than just kind of being lumped into one area. So I mean, I see it from that vantage point too. So,
When you mentioned that, there was like a slippery slope into policy governance, can you touch on like how?
well, what I was more worried about, what Gary kind of told was like the consent agendas, where we walk in and
Okay.
everything's done, we
Yeah.
just vote, we're done.
Right.
We walk out,
Right.
and the only thing we can change is through some kind of policy changes, the only thing we can affect. You know, I think there's merit to that, I don't think it's for the school, we're too small of a school for that, there might be things that need to come up like this. You know, it's annoying, it probably sounds to administration, it does, at times, it can be cumbersome, but I get that, and I think it's just the flavor of what we are.
Yep.
You
Agree.
know, I worry about it becoming a step towards that, but
Right.
I guess you just don't know
I
until you
will
try
say,
it.
so I do consent agendas for CISA. I totally get it, because we get a lot of them sometimes, but we always have the right to pull something out. So not that I don't want to do that, but I'm just saying though, if it would ever, 10 to 20 years down the line, you can always pull something out. You don't have to just vote on a consent agenda. So
And we kind of do a consent agenda in certain
we
cases.
kind of do anyway,
Right,
yeah.
and just for the sake of convenience,
If
that's
we
fine.
want.
That's fine, I'm okay with that, but yeah, it's just, where are we going, how flexible, what does it look like, all that jazz before we make that choice. I mean, like I said, I'm fine with it, I think it's a good time to work with it now, based on who we have on the board.
Well, and let's not forget that they did say that there are certain boards in the state that have gone kind of back and forth, depending on different members get on, they
So we're not
decide they
stuck
want
with
to.
that
Yeah.
for
Right.
so long.
But I would still recommend that we maintain our personnel committee separate. And well, the only reason I said, me personally, for sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it's one of those things like, you know, when those negotiations take place, again, don't they take place, they're open forum, right? And they're open with the entire, yeah.
Posted meetings.
Posted
They're
meetings.
posted
they're
meetings,
posted
anybody
meetings.
can come.
Right, so, okay, so that kind of covers that realistically.
So can you talk a little bit about how that would look in developing the agendas then? On like, you're the chair or whatever, you just go to bed and the light bulb goes off and the next morning, you're like, we don't have a meeting, and then what?
No, I
Do we
think
have
that-
chairs, or does anybody just say, hey, I'd like to talk about this
No, I
at the
think that
next
what we would do
informational
is,
meeting? We don't, you know, I mean,
at the end, it's already part of our agenda now, we set committee and board meeting dates, so we would say, all right, hey, what is something that we see coming up here? And
well, we're
perhaps,
not really even like titling anything, it would just be, here's this
no,
thing we
just
need to
a
chat
title,
about?
but we
Yeah.
can just say, look, we really need to talk about public relations, because we wanna promote, you know, this upcoming, whatever, the survey that's going out, so let's talk about that. And then we kinda, we'll talk to Jordan, we'll say, what can we fit in, because I don't wanna have a 4-hour or 5-hour meeting. So we'll talk about it, we'll kind of, I would say, I don't wanna say prioritize, but we'll kind of prioritize, what can we fit in, who's gonna be available to speak, because maybe this person, maybe Dale Green's not available to come to talk to us about curriculum, or whatever it might be. We'll sort through it, we'll create our agendas, and we'll
And I kind of see, this is just my thought, just sitting here thinking, like, you know, the little kids that come in, like, they could have their, part of their presentation could be during that meeting, and then they, you know, Josie would talk more about summer school, or, you know, maybe during one of the board meetings, you know, we all say, well, you know, I'd really like to learn more about, not the dual credit. Liz, can you whip something together and bring it to us, you know? But, you know, they
We'll be
would,
like that, or
just
something.
whip it up.
Whipping.
Yeah. You know, that, I guess that's what I'm.
Well, and in the grand scheme of things, we only have how many committee meetings?
I was just gonna say that.
I mean, realistically,
Very few.
we have maybe one a month,
Yeah,
if we're lucky.
if- exactly.
Right.
And really, I think of the 7 committees, we've really met mainly with 4 of those committees. I mean, like the insurance, the finance and stuff like that, we've never met.
Oh, I thought you meant usually we meet in the insurance committee, and like, as the chair of the
No,
insurance
no,
committee,
no, we don't.
It's
So
like,
you
I was
said,
not there for this.
if we do once a month, maybe sometimes twice a month.
Right, and that's what I'm kind of getting, I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, So it's not changing a whole lot per se,
It's not.
but, so it's not that big of a deal in that respect, it's just, I mean, this group was not short on ideas and wanted to talk about it, hence where we're here. So it's like, you
That's what
gotta
I'm trying
you
to
gotta
wrap
be
my brain about
mindful
the
of that
organization
conversation.
of how those formulate into an actual, like, plan. As far as you just thinking, you know, you're not the chair anymore, and you're not talking with him about what's coming up at the meeting, you just, hey, board, I would like to talk about this at our informational, you know, I mean, how is that stuff born? Is it more of a free-for-all, you're saying anybody and anybody can just say, hey, I think we should look at this, and it's gonna go on the agenda?
Well, I would say, so far, it's been pretty obvious when we talk about subcommittee board meeting dates that we have an idea of what we want to do as far as a committee. So I don't think that necessarily is gonna change. But I do think it's going to help somewhat because we'll kind of all be able to provide input. So I haven't been part of the curriculum since I've been on the board. And a lot of you have said that these curriculum meetings that Dale presents at have been wonderful. Well, I kind of feel like I don't want to say left out.
So why didn't you go?
I just need to go to one, that's what I'm
So
saying.
why didn't you go?
Because it hasn't always worked out for me to go.
What's the board meeting that does not work for you? So the question I guess I got is this, how does it look when it's laid out? Like, how does our agenda look at that point? Like, is it like the first half is just talking points in committee, or, and then followed up with by business? What does it look like? I
Like
mean, I
just
guess I don't know what
committee
it looks like.
topics?
Right.
Is it just a blanket, you know, you have one PR thing tonight, you have also have
Yeah, I mean-
facilities, I mean, are we just,
Is it just like
again, a
giants, like
free-for-all
head
of,
titles?
right, of
and-
just topics?
Yeah, I mean, if
Go
we're
under
going
like the 4, where it says reports were applicable, and could it just be like a 4.3? I mean, is that, so we have the board president, the district administrator stuff, and then 4.3 would be assigned topics that we discuss. I don't know, is that a good?
or will that just be where we put our committee headings?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I have been trying to like not say a word,
Mhm.
because I want you guys to have this discussion yourselves without any input whatsoever. But, I mean, structurally, there's no reason why district business, committee, you know, whatever, committee reports, I mean, they could all just be standing items on an agenda. And so just as an example, for the first meeting in January, if the board made the decision, the 2 areas you were gonna focus on were curriculum and facilities. Well, now, the generated items that you want to converse on underneath those 2 pieces just fall under those subheadings. And for the month of January, that is kind of the focus of your pseudo committee of the whole, even though you don't even need to designate it that. I mean, that's the one thing that Bob Buckler said in this phone call that I think was a good point when Lucian said it. You don't necessarily even have to change the policy per se, other than to match what it is you're gonna look, but it's philosophical. What is the purpose? The purpose is to have one meeting that's more discussion, presentations, and information, and that's more of the focal point of that meeting. Even though, yes, if you have a hire that you need to make, you're still gonna do it on that agenda. But then that second meeting, well, now the focus is more on the action and the business, and it's later on the presentations and information. I mean, that was just kind of the simple way he described it, which, when he said that, it was kind of like, I can wrap my head around that. I mean, the piece for the board, I mean, yeah, it's, what does it look like on the agenda? Great question. The other piece is depending how formal or informal you want to make adjustments. If you do, well then yes, maybe we have to adjust that policy on committees, 155 I believe it is. That may need to be adjusted some, because right now it's very clear that those committees will have 3 people on them. I don't necessarily think, and this is just me, that it would be bad to still maintain, even if it was conducted as a whole, to still maintain someone as kind of the chair of a committee.
Just to keep it on task and
Well,
keep it.
and they have some ownership in it. That doesn't mean that you can't have other things. Everyone can suggest things to the a leadership standpoint, that would not be bad for you as individuals to still have some where you, my vested interest really lies
With this.
with
Well, and
this.
that could fall into like your subcommittees, like that is just the formed committee that's like during the R word, if that's what you need to do. Then that's where, you know, that committee that is already there, it's already built.
And then, so like structurally, that would mean that the committee chair would basically run that portion of the meeting if there's anything to be dealt with that.
Yeah, it would kind of
I
be
mean,
the
it's basically-
facilitator in that discussion.
Yeah.
Without that, it was hard for me to conceive how it would function,
Mm.
with no
It's kind of
underlying.
part of our work.
Yeah,
and I think
you
that
kind
that's
of
what,
have to have somebody.
right, and that makes sense, I mean, that's fine. I
Direction.
mean, I've tried to kill things, the committee doesn't work.
So you guys are okay with it kind of staying the way that it is now? So if you're the chair of the current committee that you're on, you're okay with it just kind of staying like that?
Yeah, that's why I said.
We discuss it here.
Yeah, we just make, that's fine, that's.
So, in an effort to help further solidify conceptually what this may look like, I'm asking, would the board like something to come back, maybe on our next agenda, we can have basically the same district business board development, but then on there, have like a draft of what a future agenda may look like if you made the decision to structure a meeting like this, just so you can kind of see it. And then that can be the next step of discussing this and deciding if it's ultimately a direction you want to go.
Like it.
Yep.
And I can have.
Yeah, that's, I think that's a good
Sure.
idea. Oh, it is also.
All right. Thanks, guys, for all your discussion.
Yeah,
Thanks for the clarification, I appreciate it.
Okay, does anybody have any other questions or anything? Hearing none, we'll move on to district business personnel. I would like to combine them all unless we have some sort of an objection.
You can still say your.
And there's
I'll
nothing
take
wrong
these.
with, yeah.
Okay.
Exactly right.
Well, I would make a motion for 7-1 to 7-8.
I'll second that motion.
All right, discussion.
Thank you, Dave Hughes, for all of your years. Thank you, you've done a really nice job.
How many years do you have? I was curious.
Oh, gosh.
This was, this was his 15th year consecutively. I don't know if he was there before, but I'm pretty sure this was, he just completed his 15th year.
Wow.
Dave was so awesome and gracious. He actually, you know, I wasn't even sure he'd return for this one. I think that last year he wanted it to be his last year, but when he saw, you know, Kayla taking over, he wanted to support her, and he did a great job doing that. So he hanged on for one more year, but he'll be around in other capacities too. He's talked about how he wants to get involved somehow, and he said he might even be able to be talked into coaching middle school volleyball someday. So
You're here.
you all heard it, and I'm going to be taking him up on that, I'm sure, at some point.
The only thing I'd like to point out is, wow, this food service director,
He seems to be very qualified.
a lot of credentials there. I hope that works out. And,
There's also do.
planning, nutrition services, surf safe instructor, proctor, I mean, he's got a lot of nice background.
Yeah, a few of the food service people reached out to me and they were very excited about our coming on board. So
Yeah.
they're hoping that
That's exciting.
things work out. All right, any other discussion? All right, and then, Mike?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Barb?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Mary Beth? Lynn?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. We are on to district business donations, 8.1, action to approve a donation from Wagner Flooring to the CTE department.
I will gladly make that motion.
Second,
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
does anybody know this guy?
Yeah, what a great guy.
Thank you, Sherry.
Yeah.
Yes. For pushing Mike.
Still ask the boss.
Yes.
The chief CEO of.
All right, we do appreciate it.
That's actually Cajun, if you look at the Facebook, Cajun.
No,
Awesome.
That's awesome, thanks a
Yeah,
lot.
thank you.
All right, so thanks again, Mike, and we'll move on to voting. Mike?
I'll stay.
Cindy?
Yes.
Barb?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Beth? Isaiah?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. Okay, so we're on to subcommittee board meeting dates. I think we already talked about that, unless anybody else has any other comment?
Just real quick, mentioned for the ninth that we will have our managers, their titles, Scott, Bill, and Rachel. Scott Morrow presents the report card info. December, I know we talked about it, are we still holding to the 16th for now, or are we scratching it? What?
We scratched it. Go ahead.
I say scratch it and call us if you need it,
Yeah.
and we can, if you have an emergent meeting, need,
Okay.
that's my vote.
Smiles, face nods, eyes.
Work for me.
Yeah.
Thumbs up.
So, and then the other thing, just keep in mind too, when we're talking about this board construction, there is a possibility of moving these to 6. I'll just throw that out there. It's just a thing. I don't know if that works.
It reduces our attendance.
Right, maybe we'll, it's,
Then the other thing I wanted to bring up right now before I forget, I know Mike, when we talked, you weren't sure on the state convention.
I do not.
Okay? No, okay. So,
clean up on.
Hopefully on vacation,
Registration done tomorrow. Okay.
if the kids don't grab that.
That's on recording.
Yes.
Okay, so then we are going for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
Second that motion to adjourn.
Okay, Mike,
No,
Celine,
for one, yes.
Barb, Gary.
Yes.
Beth, Isaiah, I'm on this.
Yes.
Thanks.
What's that song?